gay community has been anesthetized to their own capacity to overuse or abuse their power, and we're in a state now where increasingly to try to counteract hate, they're using the force of institutions to punish people for saying things that are supposedly against the gay community.
Élevé par deux mères, il est maintenant professeur d'université. Bobby Lopez, il est venu de LA pour vous. Bobby Lopez.
Come on, Bobby! Come on from USA!
The organizers of the Manifestos invited me to address the crowd in Paris on March 24th, and I did not know that the crowd was going to be that big. It is a state of repression where there is a dominant ideology that uses various forms of physical intimidation and surveillance in order to silence opposition. In the Jim Crow South after the end of the Civil War, when you saw different kinds of violence being used simultaneously, so the police tend to not give people permits, they tend to impose ornery rules on people. There's a lot of bureaucratic red tape which then provokes people to break rules, and then you bring in the police to use disproportionate force to threaten them. But also police states use a great deal of unofficial violence. So for instance, they would encourage lynch mobs or encourage other forms of intimidation, and they withhold protection against the group that they're trying to suppress, so that that group feels unsafe. We were trying to make a transit from the Parliament to a theater where we were supposed to give speeches that night, and there was a gigantic mob of people. And they had amassed hundreds of people who were screaming and who were clawing at the barricades, clawing at the police. There were many more people than the police had accounted for. I think the police had intentionally only given them license to occupy space that was limited, and therefore they caused the problem, increased the level of frustration among a very large crowd, and then kept them in a very kind of canalized area, and so they all but invited people to feel frustrated and to start spilling forth beyond where the stage was into the Place de l'Étoile. The crowd was not being violent. It was indiscriminate. The tear gas hit children, it hit a pregnant woman, it hit elderly people, and it hit politicians. If things continue the way they're going in the United States, we might see that. We might see police force and excessive police violence, and also the unofficial violence of mobs being wielded against, let's say, clergy who don't want to officiate gay weddings, or schools that don't want to institute gay curriculum. What about adoption agencies? Or let's say if there's a woman who has signed a surrogacy contract with a gay male couple and then she decides she wants to keep the baby. I don't want the police or the courts or institutions to be used coercively to enforce gay ideology, and that's what's scary.